John Wayne Gacy was an American serial killer and sex offender who R-worded, tortured, and murdered at least 33 young men and boys between 1972 and 1978 in Norwood Park Township, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago, in case you didn't know. He became known as the Killer Clown due to his public performance as a clown prior to the discovery of his crimes. Gacy committed all of his known murders inside his ranch-style house. Typically, he would lure a victim into his home and dupe them into donning handcuffs on the pretext of demonstrating a magic trick. What the hell is going on? Why is this? Oh no, this fucking thing. He would then R-word and torture his captive before killing his victim by either asphyxiation or strangulation with a garrote. Garrote? What is that? A garrote or garrote? It's the same word. Vil is a weapon and a method of capital punishment. It consists of handheld ligature of chain, rope, scarf, wire, or fishing line used to strangle a person. I had done an episode on this guy a while back, but it was when I was just kind of like testing out this format, so I did it in my car, and it wasn't nearly as like, this guy, I don't know if I'm not going to say deserves a full-on episode, but we got to sit down and we really have to like pay attention. And because this is, if you see this thing, guy, or someone that looks like him anywhere near you, you got to run. This is wild. And we thought Jeffrey Dahmer, or I at least did. Jeffrey Dahmer was the worst one in terms of brutalness, but this guy has 33, it said 33 plus murders. How is that even possible? How is that possible to get away with a 33? Well, you're in a suburb of Illinois. I guess you could absolutely do that. This is crazy to say, but he kind of looks like Meat Canyon, Papa Meat. Oh, that's so unfortunate. Yo, Papa Meat's the GOAT though. 26 victims were buried in the crawl space of his home, and 3 were buried elsewhere on his property. 4 were discarded in the Des Plaines River. Gacy had previously been convicted in 1968 of the sodomy of a teenage boy in Waterloo, Iowa, and was sentenced to 10 years imprisonment, but served 18 months. He murdered his first victim in 1972, had murdered twice more by the end of 1975, and murdered at least 30 victims after his divorce from his second wife in 1976. Yeah, keep letting him out. He seems like, yeah, he's gonna like go crochet with the community, bro. He's that much of a good guy, running around in clown makeup. He's been in prison 2 times already, and then the divorce will really send you over, bro. The investigation into the disappearance of the Des Plaines teenager Robert Piest led to Gacy's arrest on December 21st, 1978. Yeah, this guy is the holy mackerel, not in a good way. Gacy's conviction for 33 murders by one individual then covered the most homicides in United States legal history. Gacy was sentenced to death on March 13th, 1980. He was executed by lethal injection at Stateville Correctional Center on May 10th, 1994. Yo, they gave it to him. They gave it to him. Oh, man. John Wayne Gacy was born at Edgewater Hospital in Chicago, Illinois, on March 17, 1942. The second of 3 children and only son of John Stanley Gacy and Marion Elaine Robinson. His father was an auto repair mechanist and World War I veteran, and his mother was a homemaker. Gacy was of Polish and Danish ancestry, and his family was Catholic. Good to know. Gacy was close to his mother and 2 sisters, but had a different relationship with his alcoholic father. There we go. Who was verbally and physically abusive to his family. The elder Gacy frequently belittled his son, calling him dumb and stupid, and comparing him unfavorably to his sisters. One of Gacy's earliest childhood memories was of his father beating him at age 4 for accidentally disarranging car engine components. What are you talking about, dude? Age 4 and he's getting belittled. Dude, at age 4, I don't think most 4-year-olds are putting together car components. His mother tried to shield her son from his father's abuse, which resulted in accusations that he was a sissy and a mama's boy, who would probably grow up queer. In 1949, Gacy's father whipped him after he and another boy were caught sexually fondling a young girl. What the hell, dude? The same year, a family friend began to occasionally molest Gacy. Gacy never told his father, afraid that his father would blame him. Despite their challenging relationship, Gacy loved his father, but felt he was never good enough in his father's eyes. Oh man, dude. It always stems from the home. Gacy was an overweight and unathletic child. Because of a heart condition, he was told to avoid sports. In the 4th grade, Gacy began to experience blackouts. He was hospitalized on occasion because of these episodes, and also in 1957 for a burst appendix. Always reminds me of Uncle Jesse. Was he getting his, was it when he was getting married and it burst? Oh no, it was during Michelle's birthday and they're all dressed up like Fred Flintstone and shit. Dino Danny, one of the best episodes. Gacy later estimated that between the ages of 14 and 18, he had spent almost a year in hospital. He attributed the decline of his grades to missing school. Gacy's medical condition was never conclusively diagnosed. His father suspected he was malingering. What does that mean, like bullshitting? Yeah, the fabrication, yeah. On one occasion, he openly accused his son of faking as he lay in a hospital bed. I mean, the doctors would know if he's faking, no? You would think? Because, like, I could see him wanting to fake that just to get away from the fucking dad, but... In 1960, at age 18, Gacy became involved in politics, working as an assistant precinct captain for a local Democratic Party candidate. This led to more criticism from his father, who called him a patsy. The same year, Gacy's father bought him a car. He kept the vehicle's title in his own name until Gacy had paid for it, which took several years. His father would confiscate the keys if Gacy did not do as he said. In April 1962, Gacy purchased an extra set of keys. In response, his father removed the distributor cap. Ain't going nowhere without the distributor cap. Gacy left home and drove to Las Vegas, Nevada with $136 to his name in the hope of residing with a cousin. This is sounding like the beginning of the Rock story. The Rock always going around acting like he's out there struggling. He's like, I came up with $7 in my pocket. It's like, I highly doubt that. Your dad was a pro wrestler and stuff? I don't know, maybe I gotta actually listen to Dwayne. Gacy worked in the Las Vegas ambulance service before being transferred to Palm Mortuary, however you say that. He worked as a mortuary, I need to know how to pronounce that if that's gonna keep popping up. He worked as a mortuary assistant for 3 months, observing morticians embalming bodies and occasionally serving as a pallbearer. He slept on a cot behind the embalming room, and later confessed one evening, while alone, he chambered in the coffin of a teenage male, embracing and caressing the body before experiencing a sense of shock. This experience prompted Gacy to return home. Oh man. Shortly thereafter, Gacy enrolled at Northwestern Business College, despite having failed to complete high school. He graduated in 1963 and took a management trainee position with the Nunn Bush Shoe Company. Gotta love that Nunn Bush Shoe Company. In 1964, the company transferred him to Springfield, Illinois to work as a salesman and eventually promoted him to the department manager. He's stepping up. The assistant to the regional manager in the Nunn Bush. In March of that year, he became engaged to Marilyn Myers, a co-worker. Do we got a picture of the Marilyn Myers? Is he out of his league with this one? During their courtship, Gacy joined the local chapter of the Jaycees. That same year, he had his second homosexual experience. According to Gacy, a colleague in the Jaycees plied him with drinks and invited him to spend the evening on his sofa. The colleague then performed oral on him while he was drunk. By 1965, Gacy had risen to the position of vice president of the Springfield Jaycees and was named the 3rd most outstanding Jaycee in Illinois. If only I understood what Jaycee was. A leadership training service organization and civic organization for people between the ages of 18 and 40. It is a branch of the Junior Chamber International. So it's got, I don't know, like a mentorship, like political type thing? Some bullshit. Kind of sounds like a cult, but is it actually a cult? KFC manager. Gacy and Myers married in September 1964. Marilyn's father subsequently purchased 3 Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurants in Waterloo, Iowa. Los Pollos Hermanos, here we go. The couple moved there so Gacy could manage the restaurants with the understanding that they would move into Marilyn's parents' former home. The offer was lucrative. Gacy would receive $15,000 per year, the equivalent of about $152,000 as of 2025, plus a share of the restaurant's profits. Gacy opened a club in his basement where his employees could drink alcohol and play pool. That sounds like a cool spot, bro. Bro, he's making fucking per year. $152,000. Dude, that's making bank. You kidding me? For a KFC? It's so unfortunate knowing that his outcome, look at him talking. Because it sounds like he's working his way up, dude. He's part of the cult thing, political, whatever the fuck it is. KFC manager. His dad's a little psychotic, but besides that, I think Although Gacy employed teenagers of both sexes, he socialized only with the males. Here we go. Gacy gave many of them alcohol before he made sexual advances. If they rebuffed him, he would claim his advances were jokes or test them around. He's joking, dude. He's just joshing. Gacy's wife gave birth to a son in February of 1966 and a daughter in March of 1967. Gacy later described this period of his life as perfect. He had finally earned his father's approval. When Gacy's parents visited in July of 1966, his father privately apologized for the abuse he had inflicted before happily saying, "Son, I was wrong about you," as he shook Gacy's hand. Water under the bridge, young Gacy. In Waterloo, Gacy joined the local Jaycees chapter, regularly offering extended hours to the organization in addition to the 12 and 14-hour days he worked managing the restaurants. At meetings, Gacy often provided fried chicken and insisted on being called Colonel. This guy is not all that. He and other Waterloo Jaycees were also deeply involved in drug abuse, pornography, prostitution, and wife swapping. That is a great show. I would love to do reactions on it, but the organization that owns it, they will not let that happen. Although Gacy was considered ambitious and a braggart, the Jaycees held him in high regard for his fundraising work. In 1967, he was named Outstanding Vice President of the Waterloo Jaycees and served on the board of directors. Yo, this is Limitless. John Wayne Gacy edition. The Assault of Donald Voorhees. What a name. In August of 1967, Gacy sexually assaulted 15-year-old Donald Voorhees Jr., the son of Donald Edwin Voorhees. Sr., I imagine, was an American politician in the state of Iowa. Dude, you're not going to be in the Jaycees anymore. Obviously, it's horrific in itself, but what the fuck is he thinking? He's going to do that to the son of Donald Edwin Voorhees, Sr. Gacy lured Voorhees to his house with the promise of showing him heterosexual stag films regularly played at Jaycee events. Gacy plied Voorhees with alcohol, allowed him to watch a stag movie, then persuaded him to engage in mutual oral sex, adding, "You have to have sex with a man before you start having sex with a woman." Dude, this guy is crazy. Over the following months, Gacy abused several other youths, including one whom he encouraged to have sex with his own wife before blackmailing him into performing oral on him. Gacy also tricked several teenagers into believing he was commissioned to conduct homosexual experiments for scientific research and paid them up to $50 each. How would they believe in this guy? Is it because he's like a politician type character? So they're like, "Oh, you got a suit and tie. You must know what you're talking about." No, that is not the case. In March 1968, Voorhees told his father that Gacy had sexually assaulted him. Voorhees Sr. immediately informed the police, who arrested Gacy and charged him with performing oral sodomy on Voorhees and the attempted assault of 16-year-old Edward Lynch. Gacy vehemently denied the charges and demanded to take a polygraph test. Yo, that's a bunch of bullshit, dude. The results of these tests were they indicated deception. What a shocker, dude. He seems like a upstanding individual. Dude, this is crazy. This is crazy. When does he become the clown? Did we already pass over that? Like, how the hell is he gonna end up going from like politician, fucking KFC Gus Breaking Bad shit to this? Or is this in between? Does anyone even know he's living this double life as fucking Bobo the Clown? Gacy publicly denied any wrongdoing and insisted the charges were politically motivated. Voorhees Sr. had opposed Gacy's nomination for appointment as president of the Iowa Jaycees. Yeah, especially after that, dude. Several fellow Jaycees found Gacy's story credible and rallied to his support. However, on May 10th, 1968, Gacy was indicted on the sodomy charge. Yeah, dude, he is not getting away with that, I'll tell you that. That's insane. On August 30th, Gacy promised one of his employees, 18-year-old Russell Schroeder, $300 if he physically assaulted Voorhees in an effort to discourage the boy from testifying in court. Attitude adjustment. Schroeder lured Voorhees to an isolated park, sprayed mace in his eyes, and then fucking beat him. Voorhees escaped and reported Schroeder's actions to the police. Yo, he fucking beat me up. Schroeder was arrested the next day, initially denying involvement. He soon confessed to assaulting Voorhees, indicating he had done so at Gacy's request. Sang like a chicken, immediately, fucking squawking. Police arrested Gacy and charged him with hiring Schroeder to assault and intimidate Voorhees. Dude, this is fucking Breaking Bad 2.0, but like not focusing on the meth and on like him being a clown and going after kids as a fucking JC. I don't even know what that is still. JC Penney, dude. If you got your pen or something else you could puff on, I don't encourage none of that. That is delinquent behavior, but I'm still gonna partake in it. So if you got something, go hit that right now, and then we'll come back and we'll fucking keep learning about John Wayne Gacy. On September 12th, Gacy was ordered to undergo a psychiatric evaluation at the Psychiatric Hospital of the University of Iowa. 2 doctors concluded he had an antisocial personality disorder, the clinical term for sociopathy and or psychopathy. So they're saying what he had was unlikely to benefit from the treatment, and that his behavior pattern was likely to bring in some repeated conflict with society. Yeah. The doctors concluded Gacy was mentally competent and to stand trial. Oh man. Yo, the trial, dude. Look at that. Look at that stash. That's crazy looking. Imagine I just did that. Yo, I'd get the cops called on me running around like that. On September 12th, Gacy, I just read that. We're on the conviction and imprisonment now, bro. Come on. I am scrolling because I lost my place. Where? There it is, yes. On November 7th, 1968, Gacy pleaded guilty to 1 count of sodomy in relation to Voorhees, but not guilty to the charges related to other youth. He claimed Voorhees and offered him to train. Wait, what? Offered him and that he had acted out of curiosity. I don't know why I said train. I saw something that looked like it said train. His story wasn't believed. Gacy was convicted of sodomy on December 3rd and sentenced to 10 years imprisonment and be served at the Anamosa State Penitentiary. Sorry, John. Not sorry. You're a scumbag. Goodbye, John. Oh shit, he really is gone. I forgot. They spoiled in the beginning. They stuck that needle in his nipple, dude. Pumped him full of that. That same day, Gacy's wife petitioned for divorce. Yeah, she's had enough of that shit. Requesting she be awarded to... She wants to be rewarded the couple's home and property, and sole custody of their 2 kids and an alimony. The court ruled in her favor, and the divorce was finalized on September 18, 1969. Gacy never saw his wife or children again. Dude. Get the F out of H, bro. During his incarceration, Gacy rapidly acquired a reputation as a model prisoner. Within months of his arrival, he had risen to the position of head cook. He also joined the inmate Gacy chapter and increased its membership from 50 to 650 men in less than 18 months. It's so weird because it seems like when he applies himself, like, he might be likable, or he was likable to an extent, because, like, how is he just, like, climbing the ladder like that? There's gotta be some quality about that. What is getting him to the top? Is it the limitless pill? Gacy secured an increase in the inmates' daily pay in the prison mess hall and supervised several projects to improve conditions for inmates, including the installation of a miniature golf course. That might be a little crazy, maybe like a handball court or something. He was presented with the Distinguished Service Award for his efforts within the inmate Gacy chapter in February of 1970. He's done it all, man. In June 1969, Gacy was denied parole. To prepare for a second scheduled parole hearing in May 1970, he completed 16 high school courses, obtaining his diploma in November 1969. You tell him he can't do it, he'll make it happen. Which is unfortunate in his case, because he's a salami mind. That's crazy. On Christmas Day, 1969, Gacy's father died from cirrhosis. Psoriasis? I don't know. No, it's definitely cirrhosis. When informed on his father's death, Gacy collapsed to the floor sobbing. His request for supervised compassionate leave to attend the funeral was denied. Wow. Damn, was he just not loved enough by the dad? The dad was just backhanding him too much back in the day. That's so unfortunate. Dude, there he is, the clown again. When are we gonna get to when he becomes the clown? They have any... I'm getting scared, bro. Yeah, who the hell is that? Yo, it's Elmer Fudd, bro. Anthony DeLontis' neighbor. Oh, he's probably... Oh my God, I can only imagine what he's saying. Yeah, they lived there, killed 33 people. We didn't know it was him, though. We didn't know. Gacy was granted parole with 12 months probation on June 18th, 1970, having served 18 months of his 10-year sentence. That's insane, bro. Conditions of his probation included a nightly curfew and that Gacy relocate to Chicago to live with his mother. On his release, Gacy told friend and fellow JC Clarence Lane, who picked him up from the prison and had remained steadfast in his belief of Gacy's innocence, so basically his homie, that he would never go back to jail, and that he intended to reestablish himself in Waterloo. However, within 34 hours, Gacy had relocated to Chicago. He arrived there by bus on June 19th and shortly thereafter obtained a job as a short-order cook. What happened to his KFC gig? Wouldn't the papers still be in his name? Oh no, unless he's a manager. He's not like a co-owner of the franchise, maybe. On February 12th, 1971, Gacy was charged with sexually assaulting a teenage boy who claimed that he had lured him into his car at Chicago's Greyhound bus terminal and driven him to his home, where he had attempted to force the boy into sex. The court dismissed this complaint when the boy failed to appear. On June 22nd, Gacy was arrested and charged with aggravated sexual battery and reckless conduct in response to a complaint filed by a youth claimed that Gacy had flashed a sheriff's badge, lured him into his car, and forced him to perform oral. These charges were dropped after the complaint attempted to blackmail Gacy. Wait, was it really? The Iowa Board of Parole did not learn of these incidents. Gacy's parole ended on October 18th, 1971, and a month later the records of Gacy's criminal convictions in Iowa were sealed. Whoa! With financial assistance from his mother, Gacy bought a ranch-style house at 8213 West Somerdale Avenue in unincorporated Norwood Park Township, Illinois, part of the metropolitan Chicago. Okay, he's back in Chicago. He lived there until his arrest in December of 1978 and, according to Gacy, committed all of his murders there. Oh my God, bro, I forgot. We haven't even gotten to the murders. The murders alone are going to be an hour and a half. You get your goddamn seatbelt on. Let's go. Gacy was active in his local community and helpful towards his neighbors. He willingly loaned his construction tools and plowed snow from neighborhood walks free of charge. From 1974 to 1978, he hosted themed annual summer parties. These events were attended by up to 400 people, including politicians and business associates. That's the one thing I guess you got to give him is he's somehow very functional in society, dude. Like he's climbing the ranks. He knows how to network. I don't know. In August 1971, shortly after Gacy and his mother moved into the house, he became engaged to Carol Hoff, whom he had briefly dated in high school. Hoff and her two young daughters from a previous marriage moved into the house soon after. They were married on July 1st, 1972. Gacy's mother moved out of the house shortly before the wedding. By 1975, Gacy had told his wife he was bisexual after the couple had sex on Mother's Day that year. He informed her this would be the last time they would do so. He began spending most evenings away from home, only to return in the early mornings with the excuse he had been working late or conducting business meetings. He is out there networking, so I mean, you could possibly believe it if you really want to. Carol observed Gacy bringing teenage boys into his garage in the early hours and also found gay pornography and men's wallets and identifications inside the house. When she confronted Gacy about these items, he informed her angrily that it was none of her business. But are you doing it in the garage though? You're not even doing it out of sight? No, that is her business, bro. Because then she's gonna get fucking roped into this shit. In October 1975, after a heated argument, Carol asked Gacy for a divorce. He agreed, although by mutual consent, she continued to live at the house until February of 1976. On March 2nd, the Gacy's divorce, decreed on the false grounds of Gacy's infidelity with women, was finalized. Whoa. In 1971, Gacy established a part-time construction business, PDM Contractors, for painting, decorating, and maintenance. How does he have time to make all these businesses? He's making... It's insane. What the hell? With the approval of the probation officer, Gacy worked evenings on his construction contracts while working as a cook during the day. Initially, he undertook minor repair work, but later expanded to include projects such as interior design, remodeling, and landscaping. In mid-1973, Gacy quit his job as a cook so he could commit fully to his construction business. Construction is a way of life, dude. You wouldn't get it. By 1975, PDM was expanding rapidly, and Gacy was working up to 16 hours per day. In March of 1977, he became a supervisor for PE Systems, a firm specializing in the remodeling of drugstores. He just does it all. He's going to go do that now. Between PE systems and PDM, Gacy worked up to 4 projects simultaneously and frequently traveled to other states. By 1978, PDM's annual revenue was over $200,000. Oh my God, dude, they even said it back then. They were saying the shebang. His $15,000 would be the equivalent of like $150,000. Now we're talking $200,000. No wonder why that dude's got money. That's money back then. Oh, but that's their annual revenue. That's not what he's taking home. Disregard what I said. Due to his membership in a local moose club, everyone's got a membership at the moose club now, Gacy became aware of a Jolly Joker clown club whose members regularly performed at fundraising events and parades in addition to voluntarily entertaining hospitalized children. Okay, so like, hey, I respect what they're doing. Just trying to cheer the kids up, that's okay. Like when Chris Evans goes in there as Captain America and shit. I like the way they do it in The Boys. That was, oh my God. Gacy, oh my God, here we go. In late 1975, Gacy joined the Clown Club and created his own characters, Pogo the Clown and Patches the Clown. He was definitely not the first guy to come up with those names. Those are so typical clown names, Pogo. Even devising his own makeup and costumes. He described Pogo as a happy clown, whereas Patches was a more serious character. All right, dude, like, fucking relax. You're supposed to be cheering kids up. What are you talking about, more serious character? Gacy seldom earned money for his performances and later said that acting as a clown allowed him to regress into childhood. He performed as both Pogo and Patches at numerous local parties, political functions, charitable events, and children's hospitals. Yo, they're doing it all. He's hustling as everything. Gacy's voluntary public service as a clown throughout the years of his murders led to him being known as the Killer Clown. Wow. That's next level, bro. Oh, that's me. Now it's him. Dude, this is crazy. This is foul. This is Mrs. Foul. Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. Dude, he didn't have the, what the hell? I can't zoom in anymore. Oh, it's saving me. It's saving me. Wait, can I zoom in on this one? Oh no, I can zoom in on this one. Oh no, I can't zoom in enough. Dude, I want to gag looking at that. No, dude, he's Much of PDM's workforce consisted of high school students and young men. Gacy would often proposition his workers for sex, insist on sexual favors in return for lending his vehicles, financial assistance, or promotions. Yeah, he wants to put himself in that position, so he's like, yeah, you owe me one. Gacy claimed to own guns, once telling an employee, "Do you know how easily it would be to get one of my guns and kill you, and how easy it would be to get rid of the body?" What the fuck, dude? I'd be like, all right, yeah, see you later. Like, I'm not getting paid enough for that shit. In 1973, Gacy and a teenage employee traveled to Florida to view a property Gacy had purchased. Sorry, I hit the mic with my hand, and now it hurts. While he was at the Florida property, Gacy R-worded the employee in their hotel room. After returning to Chicago, this employee drove to Gacy's house and beat him in front of his yard. Yo, whoop his ass, dude. Fuck this guy. Gacy told his wife he had been attacked for refusing to pay him for poor quality painting work. Yeah, no, how about the dude you took advantage of in the fucking thing? Dude should have came back and whacked his ass and threw him in the hole like Pesci. Casino, the end. One of the most violent and realistic violence scenes ever in a movie. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen Casino. They beat the crap out of him and his brother so violently, it's disgusting. In May of 1975, Gacy hired 15-year-old Anthony Antonucci. 2 months later, he went to Antonucci's home, knowing the youth had an injured foot. The two drank a bottle of wine, then watched a heterosexual stag film before Gacy wrestled Antonucci to the floor and cuffed his hands behind his back. Oh no. One cuff was loose and Antonucci freed his arm while Gacy was out of the room. When Gacy returned, Antonucci, a high school wrestler, grappled with him, fucked him up, man, obtained the key and cuffed Gacy's hand behind his back. Gacy threatened Antonucci, then calmed down and promised to leave if he was freed. Antonucci agreed and Gacy left. Antonucci continued working for PDM for 9 months after this incident, and Gacy made no further attempts to assault him. They just don't mention it ever again. 9 months? He stays there for 9 months after that? Thank Christ he was a wrestler. Oh my God. Dude's trying to make an advance on like fucking Habib. Yeah, good luck, dude. He'll throw your head through the plaster. On July 22nd, 1976, Gacy picked up 18-year-old hitchhiker David Cram and offered him a job with PDM. He began working the same evening. On July 21st, Cram moved into Gacy's house. The next day, Cram and Gacy had several drinks to celebrate his 19th birthday. With Gacy dressed as Pogo. No, the return of Pogo, bro. Gacy tricked Cram into donning handcuffs. His wrists cuffed him in front of his body rather than behind. He swung Cram around while holding the chain linking the cuffs, then said he intended to R-word him. Cram kicked Gacy in the face and freed himself. Yeah, Gacy is not much of a fighter, I'll tell you that, because he said he was like out of shape and shit. That's why he's going for the kids. When you come up against some retired Green Beret and a UFC welterweight champion of the world, yeah. See how much you like that then, jackass. A month later, Gacy appeared at Cram's bedroom door, intended to R-word him, saying, "Dave, you really don't know who I am. Maybe it would be good if you gave me what I want," unquote. Cram resisted, straddling Gacy, who left the bedroom, stating, "You ain't no fun." Yo, what the f you talking about? You ain't no fun. Cram moved out on October 5th and left PDM, although he periodically worked for Gacy over the following 2 years. Holy crap, dude. Shortly afterwards, another employee, 18-year-old Michael Rossi, moved in. Rossi had worked for PDM since May 23rd, 1976. He lived with Gacy until April 1977. Rossi sometimes assisted Gacy in clowning at grand openings of businesses. Gacy as Pogo and Rossi as Patches. You motherfuckers. Oh my god, the political landscape of this guy in his red suit. It's insane. It's insane what these people are capable of. It's foul. Gacy entered local Democratic Party politics, initially offering use of his employees to clean party headquarters at no charge. He was rewarded with an invitation to serve on the Norwood Park Township Street Lighting Committee, my bad. Subsequently earning the title of Precinct Captain, working his way up. I don't know, dude. I don't know how he does it. In 1975, Gacy was appointed director of Chicago's annual Polish Constitution Day Parade. Though his work with the parade, which he would supervise until 1978, Gacy met and was photographed with First Lady Rosalind Carter wearing an S-pin, indicating a person given special clearance. The event later became an embarrassment to the United States Secret Service. Oh my god, dude. The murders, what murder? Gacy murdered at least 33 young men and boys, 26 of whom he buried in the crawl space in the house. How much space is in the crawl space? It's called a crawl space for a reason. 33? He has to be crushing them into dust, bro. His victims included people he knew and random individuals lured from Chicago's Greyhound bus station, Bughouse Square, or off the streets with the promise of a job with PDM, an offer of drink and or drugs, or money for sex. Yo, he's got a whole range of excuses trying to lure these poor souls into his van. Don't go anywhere near people's vans or car, whatever the hell. Oh man. Some victims were grabbed by force. Others were conned into believing Gacy, who often carried a sheriff's badge and had red spotlights on his back, he was just impersonating a police officer. Yeah, we get it. Gacy usually lured a lone victim to his house, although on more than one occasion Gacy had what he called doubles. 2 killed in the same evening. He's talking about double and fucking triple kills. That's how you know. That's how you know he's a different breed. Inside Gacy's home, his usual modus operandi, how do you say that? A modus operandi, I think that's right, was to ply a youth with a drink, drugs, or generally gain his trust. He would then produce a pair of handcuffs to show a magic trick, sometimes as part of a clowning routine. He typically cuffed his own hands behind his back, then surreptitiously, I think just repeatedly, released himself with a hidden key. He then offered to show his intended victim the trick. With his victim restrained, Gacy proceeded to R-word and torture her. He frequently began by sitting on or straddling his victim's chest before forcing the victim to fillet him. No, deflate, not fillet. Gacy then inflicted acts of torture, including burning with cigars, making his captive imitate a horse as he sat on their back and pulled on makeshift reins around their necks in violation with foreign objects such as Ditos and prescription bottles after he had sodomized his captive. Talk about a run-on sentence. Gacy frequently manacled his captive's ankles to a 2x4 with handcuffs attached at each hand, an act inspired by the Houston mass murders. He also taunted many victims throughout their abuse, and was known to have partly drowned several in the bathtub before repeatedly reviving them. What? He's keeping them on the verge of life? Oh man. Gacy typically murdered his victims by placing a rope tourniquet around their neck and progressively tightening it with a hammer handle. He referred to this as the rope trick, frequently informing his victims this is the last trick. Occasionally, the victim convulsed for an hour or two before dying, although several victims died of asphyxiation from cloth gags stuffed deep in their throats. Oh man. Oh man. Except for his 2 final victims, all were murdered between 3 and 6 a.m. 3 a.m.'s devil hour, no? Usually, Gacy stored the victims' corpses under his bed for up to 24 hours before burying them in the crawl space, where he periodically poured quicklime to hasten decomposition. Some were taken to his garage and embalmed prior to burial. This is so fucking crazy. Letting them convulse, sitting there twitching, that's like for 2 hours. Oh man. That convulsing is like your body's last chance of trying to fucking fight whatever's going on. Oh man, that's horrible, man. It reminds me of Black Mirror when he goes in the game and her face disappears and she's just in a constant state of like torture. That's what that fucking is. That's awful. Oh man, the murder of Timothy McCoy. Oh man, the murder. What? Travie McCoy. My heart's a stereo. Gacy's first known murder occurred on January 3rd, 1972. According to Gacy's later account, following a family party the previous evening, he drove to the Civic Center in the Loop in the early morning to view a display of ice sculptures. Let's go fucking see the ice sculptures. Okay. He then lured 16-year-old Jimothy Jack McCoy from Chicago's Greyhound bus terminal into his car. McCoy was on his way to his father's home in Omaha, Nebraska, and informed Gacy his bus was not due until noon. Gacy took McCoy on a sightseeing tour of Chicago and then drove him to his home with the promise that he could spend the remainder of the night and be driven back to the station in time to catch a bus. You'll be okay. Prior to McCoy's identification, he was known as the Greyhound busboy. Okay. Gacy claimed he woke early the following morning to find McCoy standing in his bedroom doorway holding a kitchen knife. He jumped from his bed and McCoy raised both arms in a gesture of surrender, accidentally cutting Gacy's forearm. Get the fuck out of here. Gacy disarmed McCoy, banged his head against the bedroom wall and kicked him against his wardrobe. McCoy kicked Gacy in the stomach, doubling him over. Gacy had grabbed McCoy, wrestled him to the floor, and stabbed him repeatedly in the chest. As McCoy lay dying, Gacy claimed he washed the knife in his bathroom, then went to his kitchen and saw the makings of breakfast on the table. McCoy had set the table for 2. He had walked into Gacy's room to wake him while carrying the knife. Absent-mindedly. Oh, so he doesn't even know? That's what that means, absent-mindedly? My boy was just zonked out of it. Gary buried McCoy in his crawl space and later covered his grave with a layer of concrete. How nice. In an interview several years after his arrest, Gacy said that immediately after killing McCoy, he felt totally drained, yet noted as he stabbed McCoy and listened to the gurgulations and gaspings, he had experienced a mind-numbing orgasm. What? He added, that's when I realized that death was the ultimate thrill. Holy crap, dude, here we go. Don't get him started on the name of the game. Oh no, man. Gacy said he committed murder for the second time around January 1974. This victim remains unidentified. He was strangled and placed in Gacy's closet before burial. Gacy later stated that bodily fluids leaked from the victim's mouth and nose, staining his carpet. Yeah, that's probably bound to happen, dude. Gacy regularly stuffed rags, the victim's own underwear, or a sock into the mouths of the subsequent victims to prevent such a leakage. Oh man, he's a menace, bro. The murder of John Butkovich. What a name. On July 31st, 1975, John Butkovich, an 18-year-old PDM employee, disappeared. Butkovich's car was later found abandoned with his jacket and wallet inside and the keys in the ignition. Oh, this is John Butkovich, yeah. Let me see. John Butkovich. The day before his disappearance, Butkovich had confronted Gacy over outstanding back pay. Butkovich's father called Gacy, who claimed he was happy to help search for his son, but was sorry Butkovich had run away. Yeah, little do you know. When questioned by police, Gacy said Butkovich and two friends had arrived at his house demanding the overdue pay, but they had reached a compromise and all three had left. Over the following 3 years, Butkovich's parents called police more than 100 times, urging them to investigate Gacy further. Dude, for real, like what? Well, he's got the political connections, potentially. That's what's keeping him fucking out of prison, getting away with this. Because the first time he did the thing, I mean, people will believe in him, you know? Gacy later admitted to encountering Butkovich exiting the car, waving to attract his attention. According to Gacy, Butkovich approached him, stating, "I want to talk to you." Gacy invited Butkovich into his car, then invited him back to his home, ostensibly to settle the issue of his overdue wages. At his home, Gacy offered Butkovich a drink, then conned him into allowing his wrists to be cuffed behind his back. How are you convincing these people to do this? Especially since you got beef already. He's definitely irritated you ain't paying him. You cheap bastard, Bozo the Clown. Yeah, let me handcuff you behind your back. It's a magic trick, that's what he always says, right? Gacy later confessed to having sat on the kid's chest for a while. What? Before he strangled him. He stowed Butkovich's body in the garage, intending to bury the body later in the crawl space. When his wife and stepdaughters returned home earlier than expected, Gacy buried Butkovich under the concrete floor of the tool room extension of his garage in an empty space where he had intended to dig a drain tile. What? Dude, the parents and shit, not the parents, the kids and the wife. Dude, what? They almost caught it. They almost caught poor Butkovich. In addition to being the year his business expanded, Gacy, not Gracie, dude. Gacy freely admitted that 1975 was also when he began to increase the frequency of his excursions for sex with young males. He often referred to these jaunts as cruising. Okay, here we go. He's gonna be cruising. Gacy committed most of his murders between 1976 and 1978, as he largely lived alone following his divorce. All right, so these are his cruising years where he just goes completely, as if he wasn't completely off the rails before. But now we got his cruising years. Although Gacy remained gregarious and civic-minded, several neighborhoods noticed behavioral changes after his 1976 divorce, including seeing him keeping company with young males, hearing his car arrive or depart in the early morning, or seeing lights in his home switch on and off in the early hours. He's in there playing with this light switch, dude, this fucking idiot. He's not even trying to be low-key about it. His house is the only one on the block, just lights on, off, on, off. One neighbor later recollected that for several years, muffled high-pitched screaming, shouting, and crying had repeatedly awakened her and her son in the early morning. She identified the sounds as emanating from the house adjacent to theirs on West Somerdale Avenue. Dude, 3 years, you're hearing just screaming, the lights on and off. He's bringing young boys in the house. Are we for real? Put two and two together, people. What the fuck? 1 month after his divorce was finalized, Gacy abducted and murdered 18-year-old Daryl Sampson. He was last seen alive in Chicago on April 6, 1976. Gacy buried him under the dining room with cloth lodged in his throat. On May 14th, 15-year-old Randall Raffett disappeared shortly after returning home from a dental appointment. Hours after Raffett was last seen by his family, 14-year-old Samuel Stapleton vanished as he walked home from his sister's apartment. They're all disappearing, bro, and it's not the aliens. It's fucking John Wayne G. He and Raffett were close acquaintances. They were buried together in the crawl space, and investigators believe the two were murdered in the same evening. Oh, man. Michael Bonin. Dude, he could have been a movie star with a hair like that. You kidding me? Pulling my fly high, Bonin. On June 3rd, Gacy killed 17-year-old Michael Bonin, who disappeared while traveling from Chicago to walk again. Gacy strangled Bonin with a ligature, whatever, and buried him under the spare bedroom. 10 days later, Gacy murdered 16-year-old William Carroll and buried him in a common grave in the crawl space. Carroll seems to have seen the first of four victims known to have been murdered. Between June 13th and April 6, 1976, 3 were between 16 and 17 years old, and 1 unidentified victim appears to have been an adult. How the hell did the adult get caught up in this shit? On August 5th, 16-year-old James Hackison is last known to have phoned his family, possibly from Gacy's home. Hackison died of suffocation. His body was buried in the crawl space beneath 17-year-old Rick Johnston, who was last seen alive on August 6th. Oh man, dude. These guys all loosely knew each other. Gacy is thought to have murdered 2 unidentified males between August and October 1976. On October 24th, Gacy abducted and killed teenage friends Kenneth Parker and Michael Marino. The 2 were last seen on Clark Street in Chicago. 2 days later, 19-year-old construction worker William Bundy disappeared after informing his family he was to attend a party. Bundy died out of suffocation. Gacy buried the body beneath his master bedroom. Bundy had apparently worked for Gacy. Don't go working for this guy, please. Between November and December 1976, Gacy murdered 21-year-old Francis Alexander. His last contact with his family was a phone call to his mother sometime in November. He was not reported missing as his family believed he had moved to California shortly thereafter. Alexander was buried beneath the room Gacy used as his office. Dude, his house is going to be built out of these bodies, man, at this point. In December 1976, 17-year-old Gregory Godsick, what are these names, dude? These names are sick. Godsick disappeared. His girlfriend last saw him outside her house. Godsick had worked for PDM for less than 3 weeks when he disappeared. He had informed his family that Gacy had had him dig trenches for some kind of drain tiles. Yeah, you're going in the drain tiles, unfortunately, in his crawl space. Godsick's car was later found abandoned. His parents and older sister contacted Gacy about Godsick's disappearance. Gacy claimed that Godsick had expressed a wish to return away from home. He also claimed he had received an answering machine message from Godsick shortly after he had disappeared. When asked if he could play the message for Godsick's parents, Gacy said he had erased it. Oh, this guy. What are we gonna do about this guy? We know what we're gonna do about this guy, but on January 20th, 1977, Gacy lured 19-year-old John Insink to his house on the pretext of buying his Plymouth Satellite. What the hell is a Plymouth Satellite, bro? Oh, that is nice, dude. Are you kidding me? Oh, hell yes. What? He later confessed to strangling Sink in his spare bedroom, claiming Rossi was asleep in the house the following morning. Gacy later sold the car to Rossi for $300. Talk about a steal. 2 months later, on March 15th, 20-year-old John Prestige disappeared. Prestige was last seen leaving a near North Side restaurant. He was buried in the crawl space above the body of Francis Alexander. Shortly before his disappearance, Prestige had mentioned he had obtained work with a local contractor. Gacy murdered 1 additional unidentified youth and buried him in the crawl space in the spring or early summer of 1977. On July 5th, Gacy killed 19-year-old Matthew Bowman. Bowman's mother last saw him at a suburban train station. He had intended to travel to Harwood Heights for a court appointment. Well, he didn't make it to that court appointment, unfortunately. Spoiler alert. The following month, Rossi was arrested for stealing gasoline while driving Sizik's car. The gas station attendant noted the license plate that police traced to the car also went to Gacy's house. When questioned, Gacy told officers that Sizik had sold the car to him in February, saying he needed money to leave town. A check of the VIN number confirmed the car had belonged to Sizik. The police did not pursue the matter further, although they did inform Sizik's mother that her son had sold his car. Okay? By the end of 1977, Gacy had murdered 6 more young men between the ages of 16 and 21. The first of these was 18-year-old Robert Gilroy, the son of a Chicago police sergeant, last seen alive on September 15th. Gilroy lived 4 blocks away from Gacy's house. He was buried in the crawl space. On September 20th, Gacy had flown to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to supervise a remodeling project and did not return to Chicago until September 16th. Because Gacy was in another state at the time Gilroy was last seen, this is cited to support Gacy's claim of assistance from one or more accomplices in the several homicides. Yo, he has the crime network built in. He is Lemon, dude. 10 days after Gilroy was last seen, 19-year-old former U.S. Marine John Mowery disappeared after leaving his mother's house. Gacy strangled Mowery and buried his body beneath the master bedroom. Not the master bedroom, dude. This kind of reminds me of like Club Penguin shit. People would always be like trying to get you back to the igloo. On October 17th, 21-year-old Russell Nelson disappeared. He was last seen outside a Chicago bar. Nelson was looking for contracting work. Gacy murdered and buried him beneath the guest bedroom. Less than 4 weeks later, Gacy murdered a 16-year-old Robert Winch and buried him in the crawl space. 20-year-old Tommy Boiling disappeared on November 18th after leaving a Chicago bar. On December 9th, 19-year-old U.S. Marine David Talsma disappeared after telling his mother he was to attend a rock concert in Hammond, Indiana. Yeah, this guy prevented you from getting to that fucking rock concert. Imagine something crazy Zeppelin type level. Gacy strangled Talsma with a ligature and buried him in the crawl space close to John Mowery. Oh man, he's definitely numbering the different spots he's putting him in, man. It's insane. On December 30th, Gacy abducted 19-year-old college student Robert Donnelly from a Chicago bus stop at gunpoint. Gacy drove him to his home where he R-worded, tortured, and repeatedly drowned Donnelly to unconsciousness in a bathtub as he made statements such as, "Aren't we playing fun games tonight?" Donnelly later testified at the trial that he was in such pain that he asked Gacy to kill him. Gacy replied, "I'm getting round to it." No! After several hours, Gacy drove Donnelly to his workplace and released him, warning him that if he complained to the police, they would not believe him. This fucking guy, yo, you gotta fucking pop this fucking bastard. Pop his first chin off, then his second one off, and then fucking his ugly face. Aren't we playing fun games? No, we're not playing fun games, John. This is not a game. Donnelly reported the assault and police questioned Gacy on January 6th, 1978. Gacy admitted to having a slave sex relationship with Donnelly, but insisted everything was consensual, adding that he didn't pay the kid the money he had promised him. That's what he's saying. The police believed him and filed no charges. The following month, Gacy killed 19-year-old William Kindred, who disappeared on February 16th after telling his fiancée, who knew Gacy, that he was going to a bar. Kindred was the final victim buried in the crawl space. He's finally hit escape velocity. He has buried everyone he could possibly bury in the crawl space. We're moving on. Phase 2. Who are you? On March 21st, Gacy lured 26-year-old Jeffrey Rignall into his car. Gacy chloroformed him and drove him to his house, where his arms and head were restrained in a pillory device affixed to the ceiling, and his feet locked into another device. He has these people in saw traps. He R-worded and tortured Rignall with instruments including lit candles and whips, and repeatedly chloroformed him into unconsciousness. Gacy then dumped Rignall in Chicago's Lincoln Park, unconscious but alive. Oh my god, he's definitely gonna remember who did that to him, dude. Like you said, if he can just get away with it now, though, no one's gonna stop him. Rignall managed to stagger to his girlfriend's apartment. Police were informed of the assault but did not investigate Gacy. Rignall was able to recall the Oldsmobile, the Kennedy Expressway, and particular side streets. He and two friends staked out the Cumberland exit on the expressway, and in April, Rignall saw the Oldsmobile, which he and his friends had followed, to 8213 West Somerdale. Gacy was arrested on July 15th. He faced trial for assault and battery against Rignall. They caught him on the expressway. Some private investigative shit. That's it. Sometimes all you gotta do is try. You never know. The car sticks out like a sore thumb. It's like the Adam West Batmobile. It's a nice car, though. By mid-1978, the crawl space had no room for further bodies. Gacy later confessed to police that he considered stowing bodies in his attic, but had been worried about complications arising from leakage. Oh man. Therefore, he chose to dispose of his victims off the I-55 bridge into the Des Plaines River. Gacy stated that he had thrown 5 bodies into this river in 1978, one of which he believed had landed on a passing barge. That's insane. Yo, he's throwing them on barges and shit. Only 4 were ever found. Dude, that river is a cesspool for fucking skittles and dead bodies. You're never gonna find it. The first known victim thrown from the bridge was 23-year-old Timothy O'Rourke. He was murdered in mid-June after leaving his apartment to purchase cigarettes. Sometimes that's what the cigarettes don't do you in. The thing that happens when you're on your way to get the cigarettes is what does you in. Shortly before his disappearance, O'Rourke had told his roommate, a contractor in the Northwest Side, had offered him a job. Wait, what? Had told his roommate. Oh, he told the roommate, yo, I got a contractor who just offered me a job. Okay. Wonder who that person is. On November 4th, Gacy killed 19-year-old Frank Landigan. He was last seen alive by his father walking along Foster Avenue. His naked body was found close to an inlet in the Des Plaines River by 2 duck hunters on November 12th. On November 24th, 20-year-old James Mazzara disappeared after Thanksgiving dinner with his family. Mazzara had informed his sister the day before that he was working in construction. He was last seen walking in the direction of the Bughouse Square. You gotta watch out for that Bughouse Square. There's that term again. The murder of Robert Piest. What is that Wrangler? Look at that Wrangler shirt. They all got that cool 70s cut. I want to grow my hair like that. I think it's too late. On the afternoon of December 11th, 1978, Gacy visited the Nissan pharmacy in Des Plaines to discuss a potential remodeling deal with the store owner, Phil Torf. While he was within earshot of a 15-year-old part-time employee, Robert Piest, Gacy mentioned his firm often hired teenage boys and at a starting wage of $5 per hour. Almost double the pay Piest earned at the pharmacy. Yeah, he's throwing that out there. He knows who's listening. This scumbag. Shortly after Gacy left, Piest's mother arrived at the store to drive her son home so the family could celebrate her birthday together. Piest asked the mother to wait, adding that some contractor wants to talk to me about a job, unquote. He left the store at 9 p.m., promising to return shortly. Like, why are you going at 9? 9's a little too late. Piest was murdered shortly after 10 p.m. That's what I'm saying, within an hour, dude. You don't go to someone's house at 9. Yeah, I want to talk to you about the contracting job. No, but just wait till the morning. Fuck that. Gacy later stayed at his house. He gave Piest a soft drink before asking whether there was anything he wouldn't do for the right price. To which Piest replied that he did not mind working hard. In response, Gacy stated good money could be earned by hustling, although Piest was dismissive. Gacy then duped Piest into donning handcuffs. Dude, every time. Gacy's subsequent statements regarding the events varied. Although in one of his initial statements, he claimed Piest failed to resist as he removed the boy's trousers. No! He also stated that as he placed the rope around Piest's neck, the boy was crying scared. Yeah, I fucking wonder why, dude. Gacy admitted to having received a phone call from a business acquaintance as Piest lay dying. Yo, fly high, Piest. Guys, there is so much more to this story. If you want a part 2, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, turn notifications on, let me know. Some other ones I gotta check out. I think some other ones are Jack the Ripper, Ted Bundy I gotta do. The Toy Box Killers, because the name's interesting. We did the Toolbox Killers. You can find the playlist for all these videos in the link in the description. And support on Patreon if you can. I just posted some exclusives of covering the Betty and Barney Hill alien abduction, the murder of Elizabeth Olten, another true crime, the Slender Man stabbings, another true crime video. That one, I don't know, maybe we should recover that one in this format, but that's up there too. And then we did Mothman, and then along with all the other exclusives. Appreciate you guys. I will see you in the next one.